Well, welcome back to another episode of Blue Collar DIY. Today we're going to be replacing this old flange with an Oatey twist and set PVC replacement. We're going to start with this old cast iron um, drain. It still has the lead around it, and for me to get that twist and set in there, I have to take a little hammer and beat that lead out. Now you can pull the lead off, but I don't. I replaced this flange about 6 years ago with just a steel one. So now I'm going back with this one with a twist and set. You want to use a block of wood. This is a tight fit, so you want to use a block of wood or a side of your hammer. You don't want to hit it directly with a face of a hammer, or you could break them. So you want to spread out that force, and this floor is not level, as you'll see. So I just work it down until one side gets touches the floor. You want to make sure your flange is level. You could use a little 6-inch torpedo level. But once you get it down there, the next thing you want to do is just start twisting it in a clockwise manner. And that shaft on that Oatey is tapered, and it will start, that rubber gasket will go out against the wall and start pulling that flange down and tighten up, and that's how it seals. And really, I've used these without even putting screws in the flanges afterwards, and they're still holding. That they're very tight. I just prefer to use a couple screws to make sure it stays in place. I've never had a problem out of these. You do want to make sure, as I just showed you, that you do get it squared. Typically, I use a Better Than Wax blue toilet seal. I thought I had one in pickup this time. I didn't. So I just grabbed what I had, which was this Big Johnny seal, wax seal. Not my preferred, but they're good. So you'll want to take it out of its little wax holder there. And the rest is pretty much self-explanatory here. When you put these wax ring seals on, you do want to make sure the funnel is pointed down. I have pulled some up with people that put them up, upside down. They go just like this right here. It's best if you get your toilet bolts in first, but I want to show you how this wax ring. This is the old seal, the Better Than Wax. I could reuse that and it'd been perfectly fine, but I just chose to put a new wax ring seal. That's the old flange there I put on 6 years ago. It was old vinyl coated steel. I hate those things. But today we're replacing it with this Oatey twist and set PVC replacement flange. Here I'm going to put a couple bolts in. This floor has been wet before. They've overfilled the tub. So these joists below this isn't the best, and I really have to hunt for, I'm using 4-inch bolts here. I really have to hunt to find a good joist, good solid piece of wood to get into. Now you want to make sure you don't pull your flange all the way down and get it all cockeyed. As long as it stays level, that's what you're looking for. Right here, I had to take a hammer here in a second and just pop this screw through the grout that was below it. Yeah, always want to make sure you don't bust your flange. There you go, right there. Again, just be careful, run it down just till it snugs up. You don't want to run it down so far that it gets the flange cockeyed. Here I'm putting in the flange bolts. These are, I think these are Oatey replacement flange bolts. And you see they have a washer on them. That washer, this is something new, goes below the flange and it helps prevent pulling that bolt up through the flange. These are T-headed. I always mark the direction of the T-head on the face of the bolt, so I know what. But with these washers, these new bolts with washers, that's not necessary, but I still do it. I just prefer to know which way that T is facing. And then once you get it in there, you're going to take the little plastic washers, go on top, and that's going to hold your flange bolts in place. The metal washer goes below the flange if you've got the new type of flange bolts, and your plastic goes on top to hold it in place. You'll see here in a minute I have to pull it back up, and that's why I don't like wax. I pull some of the wax off this funnel, diverter, funnel, whatever you want to call it, and that's okay because as you seat that, it's going to squish out anyway. And there's a horn in the bottom of the toilet that's going to be facing down anyway, but that wax will still squish out, and it looks worse than what it is. It's just a little wax that comes up, and so it wasn't nothing to be worried about. You want to get those as straight as possible before you lift up this is the old toilet. This is the original, well, not the original. I didn't replace the toilet. I'm just replacing the cast iron flange here, or the old flange here. See here, one of the bolts already get cockeyed, and I can't get them in. I think there's one on the other side. It gets all cockeyed, and I can't. Yeah, so you see a little wax mesh in there. Like I said, that's perfectly fine. It's stuck to the bottom of the toilet where it's going to go anyway. And that piece there goes up around the horn, so it's not like water is going to leak out there anyway, not unless you have a drain backing up. In that case, it's not going to help anyway. So there we go, right there, straight down. You want to lift the toilet up and straight down over the flange bolts. Now, they had lost the caps to these, so I didn't even worry about putting the plastic bases on. I've been working on this home for, well, a little over 6 years. They just destroy stuff in this house. So I asked them where the caps was. They didn't know. I'm not going to take 30 minutes to go get new ones. So that's why you don't see the plastic base caps. If you had those on yours, you would put these on before you put this nut on. And then you just, again, you're going to tighten these down just a little bit. Then you're going to put a level across your toilet, sideways and side to side and front to back, and make sure it's level. Now, this toilet, I always have to shim it. I use composite door shims. Have you seen in my other videos? They're composite. They don't rot. They don't compress. And so I knew where the shims went. I got this thing leveled up, and I'm tightening it down. And you just tighten from one side to the other. I tighten a little bit at a time. I don't try to crank one side down then go to the other side. You want to pull down evenly on that toilet so it squishes out that wax evenly. And if you use a jumbo ring like I did, you'll have some gap at the bottom as you pull down. The reason that I went with this jumbo is, well, because I had it in the truck. And this family just, like I said, they just destroy things. So they need as much help as they can get. Like I said, I could have reused the Better Than Wax one you seen. It looked bad, but it could have been straightened out and been used. But I just went with a new one. You don't want no wobble in your toilet after you get it tightened. You'll see here, man, I had just a little bit. I think I added another shim later before I did the final tight down of these bolts. Hey, while you're waiting for me to get these bolts tightened and show you the final product, go ahead and like and subscribe. I appreciate all y'all do. I will have a link in the bottom to Amazon to this Oatey casting or twist and set cast iron replacement PVC flange. And if I can find a link to these new bolts, they are so much better than the old T-head bolts. These are T-head bolts, but they have that metal washer. As you can see, it's still a little wobbly. I think I put a shim on the other side or in front. I can't remember on this one. And go ahead and just cinch it down once you get it level. You see the right there above the head of the nut, I could snap those off if I wanted to. And that bolt would be close to the head. But again, this family, they destroy stuff. I'm leaving myself a little extras if I ever have to come back and they've destroyed that top of that bolt. I can just snap it off and I have fresh threads.